It's the Ross Tucker Football Podcast.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a teaching tutorial Thursday. And yes, a lot of you guessed on social media when I teased it. Robert Turbin, almost 10 years in the NFL as a running back. Might have a top 5 nickname and a top 5 physique in NFL history. And he's got a Super Bowl ring. We'll get to Turbo momentarily. I was pleasantly encouraged by how many of you knew about Turbo. You were excited about him coming on. He's the man. All of you are the men and women who go ahead and win any of our contests. We'll get to that a little bit later in the show. We'll get the spread the word winner, the sponsor confirmation email winner, the YouTube shout out winner. We're going to get to all of those because I like to make sure you guys are waiting around to see if you're the winner or not. I also like to give a shout out to DraftKings, whether it's the fantasy stuff or DraftKings Sportsbook. Thank goodness for those guys. Thank goodness for Robert Turbin. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
All right, so 2 stories I got to tell about Robert before I even start asking questions. Robert, by the way, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so here's the 2 stories about Robert everybody needs to know. Number 1, I started calling NFL games. So I retired in 2007. That was my last season. And I think I started doing some NFL games on the radio for Sports USA like 2009, 2010. By the way, that is who producer Brian works for. I can't remember where I was or what game I was doing, but I was doing a game and Robert was in it. So I can't remember if you were with the Seahawks or that one year with the Browns or the Colts. I think it was the Colts, but it might have been the Seahawks. And I was like, holy crap. That dude is put together. I mean, Robert, your arm, like everything about you, you know what? I think it might have been like pre-game warm-ups before you even had your jersey on, like pre-warm-ups. And I said to somebody, one of your coaches, I was like, who is, because in the NFL, you don't recognize many faces, especially they don't have their jersey on. Right. I was like, who is that guy? And they were like, oh, that's Turbo, man. And I'm like, Turbo? I didn't even know your nickname at that point. I'm like, who's Turbo? Like Robert Turbin, a running back we drafted or whatever. So it must have been Seattle.
Yeah.
Dude, have you always been built like that? You know who else that reminded me of? When he was in high school, I did a U.S. Army All-American game. And Nick Chubb looked like an NFL running back. I mean, he was a senior in high school. I looked at him, I was like, you've got to be kidding me with this guy. Like his lower body, I mean, he just looked like a brick you-know-what house. So I guess my question is, how much of that is natural and how much of that is the work that you put in?
Well, it's definitely a combination of both. I remember as a young kid, I had uncles, pretty swole, My dad was a professional roller derby skater back in his day. He turned pro when he was only 17. And so he used to tell me about his days of being in great shape. But I was addicted to the weights, man. Listen, I grew up an Incredible Hulk fan. And so I was like, listen, one day I'm gonna look like that guy. When I was a young kid, I was like, man, I want to look like that. So I'd be doing push-ups and stuff like that as a 7 and 8 year old. And then it just kind of became a thing. And there it was. Boom. Got older and was in great shape.
All right. So I want to piggyback off of that. Do you think you have the best biceps in NFL history? They're up there, bro. I mean, it is impressive. Do you think you have the best biceps / arms in NFL history?
I mean, it'd be tough to say. Obviously, you want to think of yourself as the top of anything, competitive wise, But I don't know if I'm the absolute best, man. There's been a lot of guys come across this league in phenomenal shape. I was just trying to keep up with them.
Give me a couple guys that you think are up there with you.
Oh man, one guy that jumps to mind was Ricky Waters. I felt like early in his career, that may not be a name a lot of people know. Great shape. T.O. was always, unless he's doing sit-ups and on NFL Network in front of the TV, showing off all the abs and everything right in front of on the driveway. I'm like, man, I think I was in like junior high when he was doing that, I'm like, it was inspirational, kind of, I'm like, listen, I got to get like that, when I get to the league. So, couple names right there.
So it's funny because I posted on Twitter last night at Ross Tucker NFL and retweeted it at Ross Tucker Pod, a picture of you from the combine. And even at the combine, it was looking pretty swole. And somebody has you beat. Now, some people said Thomas Jones, which I think Thomas was jacked.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Thomas Jones, definitely.
Some people said Michael Pittman. Pittman had some arms on him, but he also wore those like armband things that made it more pronounced.
Sure.
But Pittman had some arms. I don't know if we can count this guy or not because he was clearly taking something. He was clearly taking a lot of things, but people replied to my tweet, Robert, with pictures of LaRon Landry's arms.
Yeah.
They were like twice as big as yours.
Yeah, I thought about LaRon. I was going to say LaRon, but then I'm like, I wouldn't even want my arms to look like that. I got to be able to like shoot a basketball. At least I got to be able to swing a baseball bat. I still have to have versatility in my life, Ross. Okay. It can't be all about carrying a football and looking like that. That's too big. That's too big right there.
So that is amazing. Do you think having a big arms, big bicep, does it help or hurt as a running back? Maybe it's a dumb question, but like, does it help or hurt you to not fumble?
I used to always say it's a gift and a curse, but it doesn't either way. It doesn't matter. Guys who have smaller arms are able to carry the ball real well. Bigger arms, same thing. It's all about technique and form, those 5 points of pressure, and being disciplined with carrying the football. So doesn't matter.
So some other questions just about you and your career. What was your favorite team that you played for?
Yeah, Seattle was my favorite team that I played for. Phenomenal organization. Not to say that the other teams that I played for weren't great. Maybe I'm a little bit biased because we were able to win a Super Bowl. We had a lot of success as a team. I was young in my career as well. So, maybe I didn't understand how the difficultness, I guess, of winning football games in the NFL and getting to those big games, the playoffs, and being able to be in the Super Bowl twice. But just the way that they, aside from the success, the football stuff, great teammates, just the way that they functioned as an organization, the respect level of everybody in the facility, from upstairs to downstairs to the grounds crew, equipment managers, all of it, everything was done with so much love and respect. There was always this space for innovation to grow and get better. And that's what I love most about playing for the Seahawks.
Wow, that's awesome. And you played there twice, right?
Yeah, I was there. I was drafted there in the fourth round, which I was really upset about. Not the fact that I was going to Seattle, but the fact that it took all the way to the fourth round for somebody to be like, "Oh, we want Turbin," but we I digress. But I was there from 12 to 15, and I got a high ankle sprain in the preseason against the Chargers, and I wasn't going to be ready for the season at the start. And, it's just one of those things. It's a numbers game sometimes, which is something that I had to learn, something that I learned from Frank Gore later on in my career. But, it's a numbers game sometimes. So they released me and I ended up, going to do some other things. But I did come back in 2019 to help with their playoff run that season.
That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool that they remembered you. They liked you. They brought you back. I like that quite a bit.
It's
That's a cool
relationship.
story.
Relationship is everything, man. It's kind of a cool story behind it all. You know, I could tell it to you if you want to hear it. When I left Seattle in 2015, obviously as a young football player, you know, I wouldn't say everything is personal, but you know, you take most things personal if you're traded, if you're cut, it's like, you know, it's personal. You know, it's just like, man, these guys don't want me. So, you know, forget you guys then, you know, you get this kind of, so for a long time, I just had this negative outlook on the Seahawks after I left, just because it was like, man, you know, I thought our relationship was better than this. I understand I have a high ankle sprain, but I'm going to be back in 7 weeks. Like, but it's a numbers game, you know? And so, you know, I go to Cleveland, I go to Dallas, but then I go to the Colts and I meet Frank Gore. We're teammates. And Frank, man, teaches me about looking at things from both perspectives. And he says, you know, you got to ask yourself, Turbo, if you're the general manager managing a roster of, you know, 95 players that come into camp and you got to go down to 53, you know, what choice would you make? What choice would you have made on yourself, you know? And I think in that moment, I still probably would have kept me, but I understand the fact that every roster spot is important. And so if they keep me on the roster, then they have 52 instead of 53 for 7 weeks. That's a long time, you know, and those roster spots are very important to have, you know? And so a lot of times what I learned is it's not personal. You're just making the decision. So there was that season, the Seahawks had 3 running backs go down. The first running back to go down was CJ Procise. Yeah. And so in that year, I had been out. I had a dislocated shoulder in 2018. So in 2019, teams just weren't really interested in bringing me in. I had 1 workout with the Raiders in March, and that was it. So I called John Snyder, and this is what I'm talking about. Great organization. The fact that I can even pick up the phone and call the general manager of the Seahawks myself, and he'll pick up the phone, is big time. That tells you a lot about him and that organization. Hadn't talked to him in a while. And so I called him, but the premise of the conversation for me was to really rebuild and reestablish the relationship with the organization, because when I left, I was really upset as a young football player, not really understanding the business. So he answers the phone. He says, "Hey, Turbin, how you doing? Hey, listen, we still got Carson. We still got, you know, Rashad Penny. You know, we're still pretty good at the running back spot. Depth-wise, we're not looking to bring anybody in right now." And I said, John, I'm not even calling about, you know, the injury. I'm not even calling about the running back spot. And I told him, I said, hey, when I left back in 2015, and this is 2019 now, so we're talking about 4 years later, I said, I was a young football player, I was in my early 20s, not really understanding the business. And so the reason why I'm calling is because I want to make sure, I want to establish that our relationship is still solid. You know, that's really more important than anything. We won a Super Bowl together. You drafted me. I want our relationship to be good going forward, no matter what. And he was taken back by that. He said, man, I just wasn't expecting that. He said, look, if you want to be a part of this thing, I can make you a part of this thing. Why don't you come in for a workout? Let me see what you look like, and we'll go from there. So I go in for a workout. I work out. I do well. They don't sign me. But a week later, Chris Carson, Rashad Penny go down in the same game. Remember that? I think that was like week 15. And so I'm at the movies with my daughter and son. I think we're watching The Avengers or something like that. I get a call from Russell. He's like, you need to call John Snyder right now. You know, he's panicking. And I'm like, what's going on? I don't even know what's going on, you know? So then I get a call from John. He says, hey, we're going to sign you tomorrow. We're going to fly you in tomorrow morning. We're going to sign you. And it was because of that phone call, not about football, but about reestablishing the relationship between me and the organization that drafted me, that I won a Super Bowl with, that gave me the opportunity to come back and essentially finish my career as a Seahawk.
That's incredible. And that's awesome, by the way, they had a good enough relationship and you made a good enough impression on Russell Wilson that he wanted you to be the guy they signed and bring back.
Yeah, absolutely. Russell and I don't talk about our friendship much, but we were paired together as rookies for the rookie symposium.
Okay.
Or the rookie premiere before we were teammates. We were roommates for one of the rookie events. Then, we became teammates, and once we became teammates, we roomed together for 4 years. I was the best man in his wedding, and we've been close friends. Basically since we were newborns in the NFL.
He's really impressive. I mean, really impressive. The story I've told about him is, if you remember the year you were drafted, I was the moderator at the NFL's rookie symposium. So I was the one that was up there for all the panels and stuff. And I remember meeting him, and he came up to me after one of the sessions and said hi or something. I was like, hey, man, nice to meet you. I knew who he was, right? The Wisconsin quarterback that transferred from NC State, whatever. Fast forward the next year or maybe 2 years after that, I'm calling a game in Seattle. You're probably still on the team. You're definitely still on the team. I'm on the field. I don't know if I'm doing TV for Fox or radio or whatever. I'm walking off the field, Robert, and somebody taps my shoulder, and I turn around. He's like, hey, Ross, what's up, man? I was like, hey, Russell, I'm doing great. How are you doing? Like, I was stunned. Like, you never have a starting quarterback go out of his way to come up to you and say hi during pregame warmups.
Yeah.
Like, is that just what he's like?
That's who he is, man. He's a genuine guy. He'll remember things that you would never think he, even thought about or thinks about, especially when it comes to people. He wants to make people feel loved and special, especially when you're in his presence. And he does that. He does that effectively all the time.
So, all right, let's get back to you. I ask every guy this. I'm just curious. How are you feeling orthopedically? I mean, how many years did you end up playing? 8, 9?
Yeah, I played eight seasons. I feel good. I feel physically, I feel great. If I'm being honest, Ross, I'd love to still play. I feel like, and I'm not saying that just to be like, just because I love the game, but in all sincereness, I work very hard, and I've done a great job from a nutritional standpoint, and I feel great. Had a couple injuries that I felt like kind of cut my career a little shorter than it would have been. Dislocated elbow in 17 and a shoulder in 18. Very unfortunate, which led to teams not really being interested in me in 2019. But if you think about, that aspect of it, I don't have the wear and tear from those 2 seasons. Not a lot of wear and tear in 2019. And so, even though I may be 32 now, I still feel like I'm 27 or 28, as it pertains to the wear and tear on my body. So I feel good.
That's what gets most guys. Like for me, my career was going great till I had the back surgery, and then I still stuck around a couple more years. But then I had the neck injury. Like that's what gets most guys is the injuries, especially significant injuries.
They
so I want to make sure we get
too.
this in, Robert. Tell me, and all the listeners everything you're up to now, because I know I met you at the broadcast boot camp. Was just so impressed with how professional you were, how prepared you were. I could tell you'd already been prepping and doing stuff. You followed up afterwards. So the one thing I'm going to make a prediction on the show. I don't know what industry. Maybe it's broadcasting. Maybe it's something else. I can almost guarantee that Robert Turbin is going to be very successful in whatever all the things he does next in life, just because of your approach. So that's my that is my prediction on today's show. But so tell everybody all the things you're up to.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, man. That means a lot. My focus right now is building my broadcasting career. I'd love to be calling games on one of the big networks on TV, man. Those NBCs of the world and CBS, etc. But right now, I'm broadcasting all the Seahawks games for Cairo Channel 7 and Seahawks radio network. I'm a TV analyst for CBS here in Northern California, covering the 49ers and the Raiders. I'm on Sirius XM, on NFL radio with those guys. Sometimes I'm with Solly in the mornings, and sometimes I'm with Alex Marquez late at night. So having a lot of fun, doing the radio and the TV thing. My podcast is relaunching in August or September, just depending on timing wise what happens. Turbo Talk. It's actually going to be a live show, Ross. So I'm going to be like, you can call me the Black David Letterman per se, but we're excited as we're putting those things all together. We're going to be launching that this August, and I'll be doing some stuff here in my office as well from a podcasting standpoint, man. And so, but that's where my focus is, man, is building my broadcasting career. I do some stuff on the side with like Microsoft and the business development department, but we won't get into that kind of stuff or whatever. But yeah, man, I live a very versatile life. I have a very versatile personality, and I want to be able to have a very versatile career, and that's what I'm working towards.
Well, you're well on your way, buddy. Make sure you check him out on social media at Robert J. Turbin. Turbo, absolute stud. So glad you reached out after the boot camp. So glad I was able to get you on the show. I got to get your running back rankings. Like, I'm a big fan of asking a guy that played a position for their breakdown of the position now, because I don't want Ross Tucker's, wide receiver rankings. Who cares about my wide receiver rankings? Like, I don't care about Robert Turbin's D-line rankings. I need your running back rankings. I got to get you on again soon to talk running backs. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
All right, let's do it. Talk to you soon.
You know what else I really appreciate, by the way? And you guys know this? UFOs. By the way, I went to a store the other day. I think it's called REI. They had all kinds of UFOs there. No kidding. Why not? UFOs makes active recovery footwear, shoes, slides, boots, and clogs. So I have flip-flops, I have sneakers, and I have slides, and I am obsessed. And I'm loving getting more and more emails from you guys recently about you being like, all right, Ross, finally, you kept talking about it. So I tried it. It's like 100% satisfaction rate so far. It's amazing. There's no code or anything. I'm just telling you, you need to get UFOs. So good on your joints. It's for active recovery. I just think it's what you should wear all the time just to save your joints. Why not? Why not make something that feels like you're floating on a cloud of pillows? UFOs footwear is active recovery wherever you're going.
Tuck's Takes.
All right. Good morning. Let's start today with Steelers safety Minka Fitzpatrick. It's a 4-year extension, $18.4 million per year, $36 million guaranteed at signing.
Good for him. Outstanding young player. That's what the Steelers like to do. If they think they have a difference-making player, they're going to pay him, and they're going to keep that guy around, which is awesome. That trade really worked out for the Steelers. People thought, oh, man, they're going to have a top 10 pick. Roethlisberger's hurt. It's a terrible trade. I'd say it probably worked out for them. The Dolphins ended up drafting Austin Jackson with that first-round pick, who has been a disappointment for them. So awesome for Minka. That was one of the moves that the Dolphins made when they were clearly not really trying to win that year. But then they signed Ryan Fitzpatrick, which made no sense whatsoever.
Tuck's Takes.
The NFL has a new official pizza sponsor.
Ooh, Bri, I see what you did there. It's Little Caesars. So here's my thing about Little Caesars. Have you eaten at a Little Caesars in a while, Bri? Or are there Little Caesars near where you live in Baton Rouge?
I believe there are, but I have not eaten. I haven't eaten Little Caesars probably 20, 25 years.
I have not eaten Little Caesars in over 20 years. And frankly, I don't feel like I see Little Caesars. Like, I see a lot of local pizza places. I see a lot of Pizza Huts. I see a lot of Domino's, Papa John's, a little bit less. I don't see very many Little Caesars, but I remember they had one near the, not too far from the high school when I was in high school. And for whatever reason, Bri, they stayed open till like 11 or maybe even midnight. So after high school football games or like a scrimmage, we would drive to Little Caesars because the only place on a Friday night that was open like past 10 after we showered and stuff. It was open till like 11. We would like race there. And I would get like, I don't know, it was almost like a Hot Pocket. I don't know, like a calzone. It was so good. So anyway, that's my Little Caesar story.
Tux takes.
D lineman Derek Wolfe reaches an injury settlement with the Baltimore Ravens.
Well, Derek tweeted that he's just hoping to live a normal life. This is his second hip surgery this offseason. It's not a good deal. You know, you get a second surgery, it's usually because something didn't go the way they wanted it to with the first surgery. And I tweeted this at Ross Tucker NFL. This is why guys, a lot of times, it's not as easy as, oh, I'm just going to do one more year. I'm just going to play one more year, man. It's really not that easy because one more game, let alone one more year, could be life-altering. So I always think about that for these guys later on in their career. It's like, okay, how much is the money that I'm going to get from this year going to make a difference in my life moving forward? And how much would a serious injury or more wear and tear make a difference in my life moving forward?
Tux takes.
A few unexcused minicamp absences include Chicago Bears Robert Quinn and Cardinals Rodney Hudson.
Usually it means the guys want more money. So I'm assuming that's what the deal is with both of them, Quinn and Hudson. Usually it means they want more money, but I don't know. I haven't heard anything from them, but both of their coaches made it pretty clear that they were unexcused absences.
Tux takes.
Sauce Gardner really wanted that number 1 Jets jersey, so he had to pay $50,000 to DJ Reed.
So I saw a story this week where Gerald McCoy paid $250,000 to have the number 93 in Carolina. That is bananas to me. Like that is so much money. Now for Sauce Gardner, I feel like, Bri, this might be my doing because he picked some other number. And I tweeted out, how does he not know his first name Sauce or his nickname Sauce? His first name's Ahmad. He needs to be jersey number 1. A1 Sauce. Like he'll make that 50 grand back in endorsements from A1 steak sauce, which is delicious, by the way. That's exactly what he should do. So he's going to get a good return on that investment, just like you get a good return on your investment when you get clothes from Express. I did a speaking engagement today. It was so nice to do a speaking engagement with a suit on from Express that had lightweight linen, breathable cotton fabrics. You can mix and match for endless outfits. I'm more of a monochrome look guy, but hey, to each his own. The key, though, is to have a lighter suit that you can wear in the summer, weddings and stuff. Find something for every destination at Express, online or in store.
Tux takes.
Amazon Thursday Night Football crew is expanding its roster. They have announced that Richard Sherman is joining the team.
Not a surprise. I think they're going to get Fitzpatrick, too. There's rumors to that. He didn't say anything about it to me, but there's rumors to that. I think it makes sense for Amazon to try to get people fresh out of the league that haven't done anything anywhere else yet. Amazon's trying to get attention. Amazon's trying to get people to watch them, to stream the Thursday night games. So there will be some people that are curious to see what Fitz is like on TV. There'll be some people that are curious to see what Richard Sherman's like on TV. So I think for them, the strategy actually makes a lot of sense.
Tuck's Takes.
And finally, Washington owner Daniel Snyder will not testify in front of Congress, but Roger Goodell will.
How do you have the option? Like, how is that a thing that you can say, nah, I saw he was going to be out of the country? That's like the movie Can't Buy Me Love, when she kept telling Ronald that she was either in the shower or out of the country. Like, how can you just say, oh, I'm going to be out of the country? Like, that's bizarre to me. Like, oh, really? Okay, then we'll do it the week after. Like, what? You can just decline? Who accepts then? But I guess Goodell accepted. You know what I've accepted? Not every one of you are going to try to be a winner. And that's okay. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you don't want a signed picture, a signed press pass. Maybe you don't want to ask a question. Totally get that. But I like to reward people like Deb C. Deb C replied to a tweet. Deb C, it's that simple. You're a winner. Hit me up, ross@rosstucker.com with an email. Same with Ryan Curella. Ryan Curella sent me his order from Ufos. You will not be disappointed, Ryan. Ufos is amazing. Good for you. Let me know what you want. I still got a bunch of cool press passes. And then the YouTube shout out was Paul H. Paul H, thank you for the YouTube comment. Thank you for subscribing. YouTube.com/RossTuckerNFL. Thank you to Pizza Boy Brewing, Sporticulture, HumanHeadNYC.com, SteakhouseSports.com, Go-Bengals.com, and Evergreen Economics. Awesome fantasy feast with Josh Norris today. Make sure you check that out. Former scout with the Rams organization. He's a stud. That'll give you some extra content Friday or Saturday. We'll be back bright and early Monday morning. I think we're done here.
Thanks for listening to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also subscribe to the Fantasy Feast, Even Money, Business of Sports, and College Draft. All available at Apple Podcasts, rosstucker.com, or wherever podcasts can be found.